It's easy to get stuck reaching for the same familiar fruits and vegetables, even when you know a colorful variety is key. Balance of Nature's fruits and veggie supplements don't replace fruits and vegetables, but it makes it easy to add more variety to what you already eat. With 31 ingredients that are whole fruits and vegetables, switching it up is easy because we've already taken care of the hard part. Go to balanceofnature.com and get a free fiber and spice supplement, plus 35% off your first set as a new preferred customer by using discount code POD.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, we are getting more details about Zohran Mamdani. Of course, he and also Kathy Hochul of New York, they're attending what's called the annual Somos convention, and it is with a whole bunch of Democrats. It takes place every year. It's in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And Zohran Mamdani, the more we hear of him, the more we realize how defiant he is, how steadfast he is about his Democratic Socialist belief. And the more I believe we're in trouble in New York and in America, because so many people are buzzing about this guy across the country and saying he is now the new face of the Democratic Party. Democrats are raving about him, and Republicans are going to use him as the poster boy for the Democratic Party. And that means that Zohran Mamdani will be sort of the face of the new Democratic Party. Like it or not, that is the case. By the way, he is staying in a separate hotel than the political conference that's taking place there in Puerto Rico, because he says he's being swarmed, or his staff does, with requests. People want to meet him. People want to shake his hand. He is sort of the new DSA rock star, if you will. But boy, there are a lot of rocks to throw if you look at the policy of DSA. Welcome to the Rita Cosby Show tonight as we talk about a troubling trend across America. The Democratic Socialists of America coming forward and saying, we're going to essentially make sure that Zohran Mamdani lives up to everything he said he would do for us. He owes us because we helped elect him. And yes, they did play a big, big role. By the way, I don't believe that they have to even control him, because I believe he's controlling them. He's like the poster child, and he is the front runner there in the Democratic Socialists of America, because he also spoke, remember, during their national conference in 2023. That's when he said that lovely line of, the NYPD boot is around your neck and it's laced by the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. So this is a guy who's had a history of really vile, troubling comments, and it just continues over and over again. And of course, in his speech, this was the quote victory speech, which was full of vile and incendiary comments. Who could forget this moment? He said, "I'm a proud Democratic Socialist." And the crowd went crazy chanting DSA, DSA, DSA. Here it is. There it is. DSA, DSA. The Democratic Socialists of America were everywhere in his campaign, and they will be everywhere in the New York City mayor's office, the mayor-elect of the biggest city in this country. And here is Zohran Mamdani, because remember his victory speech? It wasn't a speech about coming together for the good of the city. It was a speech about, it's my way or the highway. This is what we're going to do. And he also blasted President Trump at every twist and turn. Here he is during that speech. This is just one of the references to Donald Trump. And have you ever heard a victory speech like this?
And if we embrace this brave new course, rather than fleeing from it, we can respond to oligarchy and authoritarianism with the strength it fears, not the appeasement it craves. After all, if anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. And if there is any way to terrify a despot, it is by dismantling the very conditions that allowed him to accumulate power. only how we stop Trump, it's how we stop the next one.
I call that brazen. I called it bold. I call it defiant. I call it a lot of things, but I certainly call it also trouble. And you could tell that there will be a lot of trouble. There's going to be a lot of battles between Donald Trump and this guy, because he is making himself the person who's going to defy Donald Trump. That is 100%. And earlier today, I wanted to play this clip because this is John Solomon, of course, the great investigative journalist with Just the News. And he had one of his reporters got into a Democratic Socialists of America meeting. And in that meeting, he said they started listing off all the different things that the Democratic Socialists of America that they believe. And they're pretty vile. They're pretty shocking. They're all anti-Israel. Surprise, surprise. Wait till you hear some of these things. And then they said, this is what we expect Zohran Mamdani to live up to. We're going to make sure that he follows through on everything that the DSA does and says. Not, again, that it's going to be hard, because this guy set up the Students for Justice of Palestine chapter. He was also a co-chairman tied with the DSA. He was also, again, remember, the keynote speaker at their big national convention in 2023, just 2 years ago. And again, he thanked DSA. You heard them chanting and whooping it up when they were there at his victory speech on Tuesday night. So you're not just having Zohran Mamdani in office. You're having Zohran Mamdani and his crazy Democratic Socialists. And there was a new poll that showed that 24% of New York City voters believe they are Democratic Socialists. That's pretty scary. 1 in 4 believe that they are Democratic Socialists. That's the committee. That's the group that's like, defund the police, open up the jail cells, clearly anti-Semitic. And many of the views, I believe, my opinion, anti-American. So when you listen to all of that stuff, you go, whoa, really against American interests, especially tied to Israel, one of our greatest allies. But here's John Solomon. You got to hear this. This is him listing off what the Democratic Socialists of America plan to implement vis-a-vis Zohran Mamdani. It was a meeting in New York, and they actually let one of his reporters in. And boy, did he get an earful. Take a listen.
For some reason, maybe by accident, maybe by intention, the Democratic Socialists of America New York City chapter invited our reporter into a meeting over this past weekend. And there they handed out the agenda items of what it is they expect Zohran Mamdani to impose when he becomes the New York City mayor in January. The list is pretty clear. It does lean heavily into socialism. Some would argue communism. But let's go through some of the things that they believe is going to happen. They expect the mayor to divest all city pension funds from anything having to do with Israel or bonds or securities. They expect the city to withdraw funds from banks that lend money to Israel. So if you're a bank and you just give money to an Israeli, you may lose your city business. They will end city contracts with companies that do business with Israel. They operate city-run grocery stores free from Israeli products. It will investigate real estate agents hosting illegal sales of stolen lands in the Western Bank. And I put the word stolen lands, that's their words, not mine. They'll evict weapons manufacturers and transporters from the New York City metro area. No lawful gun owners or lawful gun sales. Divest the University of New York, the City University of New York endowment, and reinstate wrongly fired professors, i.e. those who might have lost cases over DEI or anti-Semitism. They'll dismantle Eric Adams and New York City Israel Economic Council. They'll end any NYPD training with Israeli forces. They'll end the repression, and this is their word, not mine, of demonstrators, and arrest Netanyahu and any active IDF soldiers for war crimes. That is the agenda they were talking about that they expected the new mayor to impose. And by the way, they said they're going to be there pushing him to make sure he delivers on their agenda. I think that will eye-open a lot of people when you start to look at it.
Yeah, it definitely will. John Solomon. Boy, oh boy, did you hear just a few of those? Any banks that lend money to Israel, they'll withdraw city funds. I mean, this is the BDS movement on steroids. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. How scary is this for New York? And what does this mean for New York City and America if these Democratic Socialists clearly implement what they're planning to do? And everything is attached to Israel, but they're not anti-Semitic, right? Wink, wink. Let's go to Robert in Brooklyn, line 1. Go ahead, Robert.
Thanks for taking my call. Well, in many ways, Mamdani is to the Democrat Party what Trump is to the Republican Party. Mamdani is very, in your face. He has these tweets that, spark people's interest. Now,
wait, hang on, though. Robert, hold on. You're not going to get away with your comparing Trump to Zohran Mamdani. I mean, there's a huge difference. Trump says what he means, and I've never heard Trump say anything anti-Semitic. I've also never heard him say defund the police and call police racist and anti-queer. All the history of Zohran Mamdani. I mean, how could you ever compare the two?
No, I'm not talking about content. I'm talking about style. In other words, Mamdani, I'm not saying I agree with him. He's like, the anti-force. I'm not saying that. But Mamdani, he's very he's combative. And Trump is also combative. Mamdani doesn't stand out. Whether you agree with him or not, I'm not saying I agree with him. I'm just saying I'm talking about his style. He's very combative. And we have to be on the lookout.
And he is charming. I will say that. I've not met him, by the way, but you just watching him, he has, did you see the Saturday Night Live skit of him where he kind of smiles into the camera and he goes, hey girl, all these young women, predominantly young women, a lot of them voted overwhelmingly for him versus Cuomo. Because he's kind of smiley and, it's all make believe, and a wolf in sheep's clothing when you see the background.
Now, there's a big, like a cancer in the society, especially the Democrat Party, of anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, activity that's happening. And it's not just in the Democrats. You have a lot of these Republicans who are also, now you have a lot of anti-Semitism in the Republicans, obviously more on the Democrat side, but you build a lot
by the way, by far, when you talk about the Democratic Socialists, I don't there are some extreme, like you said, far right, who, it's a handful, and I don't like it either. So I agree with you, Robert. It's distasteful. But, it is, if you look at the Democratic Socialists of America, of which there are many members, far outweigh the handful on the other side. But go ahead.
But these you have to investigate where these who's funding all this. It's like a country like Qatar, Qatar funding the Democrats and the Republican extremes who hate Israel because they know that Israel, as strong as it is, dependent on the United States. If they ever break the connection between the United States and Israel, that would be devastating also for the United States. So they realize they can't beat Israel straight on because the United States supports Israel. So now they're infiltrating our society here. Now, the other thing I just wanted, so we have to, these things like the Muslim Brotherhood, they should be, declared a terrorist organization. Rubio was investigating it, but he needs to declare them in the United Arab Emirates and the Saudi Arabia, Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization. They need to investigate Democratic Socialists of America. Are they really communists? Are they really supporting Hamas or not? Mamdani, they should investigate him. And I really want him to be deported. I want him to lose his citizenship. I want him deported. I don't care how small a possibility. I want them to try to get him out of here. And the last point I wanted to mention was I'm thinking about re-registering from Republican and switching to the Democrat Party. So this way I could vote for Kathy Hochul to be the governor of New York.
Now, why do you want Kathy Hochul to be the governor of New York?
Well, first of all, she's not as extreme as someone like Mamdani. And the other thing is that I'm going to watch Kathy Hochul. As the governor, is she going to let Mamdani mess around with the police department?
She already endorsed him. Robert, you can't be serious. She already endorsed him. By the way, also some breaking news.
Breaking news.
That Elise Stefanik, who is Republican Congresswoman from New York, who famously took Harvard and all these other universities to task, she is reportedly going to announce tomorrow that she is running for governor of New York, taking on Kathy Hochul. And boy, that will be very interesting. Real quick, Robert, your reaction to that. Would you go for Elise Stefanik?
Well, I appreciate Elise Stefanik. She stood up against anti-Semitism, but I would probably go at this point, I don't know, but I have to say, I'd probably go with Kathy Hochul because I'm not happy about the big bill of betrayal that Elise Stefanik supported that cut at Medicaid.
Well, there were a lot of questions with fraud in it, and that was the reason she cut it, Robert, and you know that darn well. But if you are worried about Mamdani, you may want to look twice because Kathy Hochul was one of the first people to endorse Mamdani. She's been very chummy with him, palsy-walsy with him. And I can tell you, in an election year, I don't see her standing up to him. I didn't see her standing up to him at the beginning, and I definitely don't during an election year. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but do your homework a little bit more. Robert, thank you very much. 1-800-848-9222. And you're listening to The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's easy to get stuck reaching for the same familiar fruits and vegetables, even when you know a colorful variety is key. Balance of Nature's fruits and veggie supplements don't replace fruits and vegetables, but it makes it easy to add more variety to what you already eat. With 31 ingredients that are whole fruits and vegetables, switching it up is easy because we've already taken care of the hard part. Go to balanceofnature.com and get a free fiber and spice supplement, plus 35% off your first set as a new preferred customer by using discount code POD.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And let's continue your calls tonight here on the Rita Cosby Show, 1-800-848-9222. You just heard what the Democratic Socialists of America plan to hold Mamdani accountable for. And the list is pretty chilling. If the name Israel has anything to do with anything that you have anything to do with, it ain't going to be there under Mamdani. But no, he's not anti-Semitic. Give me a break. Let's go to Judith in Brooklyn, line 1. Go ahead, Judith.
Rita, hi. You know, Mamdani is a puppet. He was groomed to go into American politics for the sole purpose of the cause of Islam, okay? And the DSA, which I call disastrous socialist anti-Americans, that party, and together with Mamdani, Elise Stefanik coming out now, which is terrific, I think. It's really needed to take away his thunder, okay? She is the answer to the fight against all of this, okay? Because the governor, and she will become governor, she can just completely fire him and fire all of them and just completely eliminate them.
That's right. No, you are absolutely right. The governor has the power to remove the mayor. There would be sort of a hearing, but she's sort of the arbiter at the hearing. So you're right. And I think it's really powerful. She's coming out now, clearly to send a message to Mamdani and others.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Rita Cosby Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Auburn, New York, where a police officer, a sheriff's deputy, and a neighbor worked together to help rescue a man from a house fire. Officer Paul Flickner was on routine patrol when he got a report of a fire. It was just a few blocks away. He got there within 2 minutes, but when he came, he saw that the house was engulfed in flames. So he went to the front entrance, he pounded on the door, yelled out, whereupon a man who had been sleeping inside woke up and began yelling for help. Turned out, though, he was on a high floor and was totally disoriented. So they had to find another way to get around that because smoke was engulfing the area where the officer was. And he was dealing with a lot of smoke inhalation, as you can imagine. So working together, they figured out that the man was right near a window on one of the top floors. They got there, and thankfully the officers and the deputy and also a neighbor were able to pull the man through the window and to safety. both the man and the officer were treated at the scene for smoke inhalation, but that is it. And the man is lucky to be alive thanks to the great work of our men and women in blue. Well, we have been talking about Zohran Mamdani because the whole world's talking about this guy. It is still astounding that he is about to be mayor of the biggest city in America. And this guy really has a set of cojones. And I say that because, boy, is he cocky. I mean, he is like, the president hasn't called me, as if the president of the United States needs to be calling the mayor, the Democratic Socialist mayor of New York City. I mean, that's not like a mandatory call for any president whatsoever. And if anybody reaches out, it should be Zohran Mamdani reaching out to the president of the United States saying, I would really like to work with you. How can we work together? What can we do for the good of your hometown, New York City? But no, Zohran Mamdani acts like he's entitled and acts like the president of the United States should be begging to meet him. Listen to this comment that he made about whether he's been in touch with the White House or not.
The White House hasn't reached out to congratulate me. I continue to be interested in having a conversation with President Trump on the ways in which we can work together to serve New Yorkers, whether that be delivering on his campaign promises around cost of living or the many issues that New Yorkers have been sharing with me about the drastic impacts that the legislation that President Trump has ushered through Washington will mean for them and their lives. Too often we understand these impacts solely at an individual level, but if we just speak a little bit more about SNAP benefits, these are not just affecting the close to 2 million New Yorkers who are on SNAP, these also affect the grocery stores across our city. There were a number of mom and pop owned grocery stores that spoke to me about the fact that in the Bronx, SNAP revenues make up more than a quarter of all of their revenue. And this has the impact of decimating their ability to keep their doors open.
That's incredible. First of all, the president hasn't reached out to him as if he's due a call from the president of the United States, a Republican also, let's remember, who couldn't be further in policy from this guy, and the arrogance of him that he thinks that he deserves a call from the president of the United States, and that's the order that the president should be reaching out to him. And then did you hear this? He starts then trashing the president and his economic policies and then blaming all the SNAP issues. That is the women and children, of course, the Women and Children in Need program, and many deserving Americans who, of course, with all the shutdown that the Democrats won't vote for to open the government. That's the reason for it all. But he's blaming it on President Trump. I mean, this guy really is defiant. I mean, he's quite a brazen young man for 34 years old. And yet, if you look at some of the new polling numbers that came out, as I mentioned, there were a lot of like young women that voted for Zohran Mamdani. So why, you guys out there, why gals out there, do you think women voted for Zohran Mamdani? Listen to this. This is so crazy. First of all, a lot of people were talking about Sharia law, which is sort of the very ardent, very steadfast law of Islamists. And there's a lot of questions there about, honor killing, stoning somebody if, in your family, if, they cheat on you. All of these really crazy, ardent, extreme punishment, extreme laws. Women have to walk pretty far behind their husbands. This is not 2025 in America. Let's just put it that way. So, yet there are these young women. I had to play this because this just shocked me. These young women out there who were celebrating Mamdani's win and going, woohoo, Sharia. That's like, gays for KFC chicken. That's like sending, I'm going to send, chickens over to go visit the Purdue factory. Are you kidding me? That's like, gays for Gaza. Where they had these old signs over there. They'd last like 5 minutes over in Gaza. I mean, this is so out of touch. And yet these young women think it's sort of cool to be cheering about Sharia law, which, of course, young women, especially young women who might be in a relationship with someone and yet they're not married to that person, they could be stoned. And yet they're cheering for that. These people have no clue. No clue. Listen to this.
Sharia law starts now. Absolutely. Zohran Mamdani, Islamic Caliphate, our brother in Islam, Islamic Caliphate of New York, starts today, baby!
God, there is just something so electric, so satisfying about knowing that my MAGA parents, wherever they are probably having a horrible night tonight. Oh, I literally just got goosebumps thinking about it. Like, they are in such a bad mood, probably, about the fact that Zohran just won and Prop 50 is gonna pass. Like, wow. God, I'm sorry. It just makes me feel good that my MAGA parents are probably upset right now.
When the day starts with Dick Cheney being dead, it ends with Mamdani winning. Oh, yes. Oh. I'm so happy. Oh my God, I'm so happy.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so stupid. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Wow, wow, wow. Let's go to Al in Yonkers. Al, first of all, what did you make of that?
Yeah, Rita, like you said, I mean, you did a great job trying to get out the vote to stop Mamdani. But, the problem is overall, nationally, I'm a Republican. I have an ideology. But unfortunately, the Republicans had a bad night last night, Tuesday.
They had a horrible, by the way, not a bad night, Al. I always tell it like it is. And I've seen some people try to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was disastrous. Yes. It was horrible. And I'm talking about all around the country. Right. It was terrible. And in New York, it was a bad night too for the Republicans. Curtis got very few votes. He got like a fourth of what he got the last time.
Yeah, Curtis Sliwa really underperformed. I hope he didn't make himself insignificant politically in the future. And also with all the disarray, up in Throgs Neck and Morris Park in the Bronx, we had a Republican who lost. She went down too. So the Republicans in the city lost the city council seat.
Wow, that's really bad. I mean, it is hard, by the way. And in fairness, to anybody who's a Republican in New York City, it's tough. I mean, the odds are so far against, which is why so many people at the end were saying vote for Cuomo, because they could see, first of all, they could see the polls. And the reality is New York is so heavily Democratic and the dangers of a Mamdani were so great. And now here we're hearing the policies of this Democrat. The more I hear, the more concerned I get, Al. I mean, this guy has only been elected now, it's 2 days, and it feels like a lifetime. And this city is in panic over what is this guy going to do and what are these Democratic Socialists of America going to do?
Yeah, I agree with you fully. I think, we've seen this political craze in the past. Remember 2008 when a junior senator from Illinois came out of nowhere, Barack Obama, and took it from Hillary Clinton, the nomination. So we've seen this before. The problem is 4 years in politics is a long time, and this guy is, he has pretty much of a mandate. And the problem is, 4 years in politics, to be in there for 4 years is a very long time.
By the way, you left out the word. He has a socialist mandate, as he even has said it himself. That is deeply concerning, because even though he was on the Democratic line, there's still 50% who did not vote for him in New York.
Yes.
So clearly many people are still incredibly concerned, as they should be, Al. And you know, it's interesting. You brought up Barack Obama, and there were a lot of questions about Barack Obama. I'll never forget the Reverend Wright, the goddamn America. Yeah, that was horrible, but I never felt it was as extreme as this. He had some very questionable characters around him. There's no doubt about that. But I also feel that this guy, I mean, the blatant defund the police, there were maybe some values that maybe Barack Obama had, and he tried to distance himself from Reverend Wright and distance himself, whereas this guy doesn't seem to be distancing from anybody. And in fact, at his victory speech, he had the social media influencer who said America deserved 9/11. He has the father who says suicide bombers are pretty great people. And then he had the other guy, the Mahmoud Khalil, who was leading the protests. I mean, it's like a group of loonies, you know, and he's like sticking it in our face. That's what makes this, I think, even much more concerning. Don't you think, for that reason, Al?
Yeah, I do. And I wanted to say Mamdani was very savvy politically. After he lost the primary, he went into the black community and the Latino community, more the black community in the city. And he played up the Central Park Five, Sean Bell, James Gardner, and he was able to outdo Governor Cuomo last night with the black and Hispanic vote.
Now, what do you make of the fact that women voted more for him, Al? And it seemed like men went more for Cuomo, women went more for Mamdani. Yeah, I mean,
I know that's, I know a lot of young, he got the younger vote.
Yes, exactly.
I'm not sure why, with the women. I mean, I'm not sure.
Maybe they thought young and smiley, who knows, and listen, Cuomo had the allegations, all that stuff against him.
Yeah, the nursing home.
Who knows, right? The nursing home, the women, who knows if sort of all of those things, dissuaded women from being there. And you see this young, fresh, very sort of happy, smiley face that, I don't know if you saw the Saturday Night Live. I thought it was very funny, actually, when they did the debate. But they see, the smiley, handsome guy kind of smile. Hey, girl, vote for me, and it was so true, because that's what he was trying to do, was sort of sugarcoat everything with a big smile, and this young, fresh guy with all this energy, kind of like you just said, kind of like Obama coming out of nowhere. And we'll see. I think this is going to be a really turbulent period, though, Al. And I hope, I hope that there are some checks and balances on this guy. What do you make of the fact that Elise Stefanik may throw her name in tomorrow, it looks like?
I think it's good, but I agree with Robert. I think the Republicans really, another thing I want to say with Bruce Blakeman before I get, I think Stefanik would be a good candidate. But also Bruce Blakeman, you got to realize, like, Westchester used to be like this, but it's not now. It's Democratic. But Nassau County, it's white, it's upper middle class. A lot of the people there are wealthy. They tend to be Republican. So if he primaries Stefanik, there's a lot of Republicans who like Bruce Blakeman. So you got to take him seriously.
I agree.
And you got to
He's
see
a great
who gets
guy.
the conservative line. The conservative line will be crucial there.
Yep, great point. Great point. And I do agree. And also, by the way, Bruce has also kept, his Nassau County in New York, the safest county in America. So you can't forget about that. Al, thank you very, very much. Always great to talk to you. Thank you, Al. Let's go to Dom in Minnesota, line 3. Go ahead, Dom.
Yeah, Rita, nice to talk to you again.
You too, by the way. I am so happy, Dom, that where you are, one of the only happy moments was when I heard Omar Fateh, who's sort of like a mini Mamdani, and he was in the primary there, the Democratic primary against Jacob Fry, right? The mayor there, and he held it. Not that Jacob Fry is a big prize either, but he's not Omar Fateh. He's not a mini Mamdani. So the mini Mamdani got voted out. Didn't make it. Thank goodness there in Minnesota. I was so happy, Dom.
Yeah, I was outside the country visiting some non-commie countries, and just came back last week.
Non-commie? Which non-commies did you go to?
Well, I went to India, I went to Malaysia, Indonesia, and places like that.
Beautiful.
And I came back here and said, "Whoa, something's going on here." Mamdani campaigned as Mother Teresa, but turned into Frankenstein the day after he won. If you'd listen to his fiery, success speech, it's almost like he drank the Kool-Aid he was feeding his orders the day before.
Yeah. By the way, you're right, because it was so filled of like fire and brimstone. It's like a victory speech I have never ever seen, because you're right. It was so antagonistic and so vile. And I've never seen a victory speech, not conciliatory, not saying, hey, we're going to all work together. It was like Trump, he's the worst. I'm going to block ICE. I'm going to do this. And then he said, I'm a proud Muslim. I'm a proud member of the DSA, and I will never back down. I mean, that was like a call to war almost. What did you think of that, Dom? I mean, he's arrogant.
No, I guess humility is not in his dictionary of words. You know, he's already putting out an ad that says, remember, I told you to stop sending me money. You can start again. So, well, it costs money to organize, pay salaries, so it can help you all. But, you know, he has already announced an all-female transition team, all without burqas, I noticed.
Yeah, I know. I think there's one that had like a semi-burqa, if I saw.
Yeah.
But one of them is like, I think has DSA ties, so that's concerning. And I'm curious, Dom, who he's going to pick for these key positions. I mean, he's also said that he wants to keep, Jessica Tisch, who's the NYPD commissioner, that he wants to keep her, but she is a real law and order gal. I think she's done a terrific job, and I hope that she would never stay on for Zohran Mamdani. I would never work for somebody like that. If he had offered her, and she doesn't need it, she comes from a successful family. She comes, from within the department. She loves the NYPD. And I would hope that if he offers it to her, and I'm sure he will at some point, he said he will, I hope she says, no way, and walks away. The fire commissioner, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, Don, but the fire commissioner there, who is Jewish, Robert Tucker, within hours of Mamdani being picked, he said, I'm handing in my resignation. And I hope that Jessica Tisch does the same thing. Let's see where it goes, Dom. And I'm glad you made it back safely from the non-commie countries. Good for you. Thanks so much, Dom. 1-800-848-9222. And you're listening to The Rita Cosby Show. We'll continue after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And you guys always know I read your messages on Twitter/X. Sal, you always make me laugh. It says, at Rita Cosby, Rita, when do you think the Democrat Party will officially change their name to the Democratic Socialists of America? That may be coming soon. I'm telling you, I'm sure there are a lot of people that would like to see them do that name change, considering especially Mamdani, AOC, and Bernie Sanders, just to name a few. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Pamela in New Jersey. Pamela, your thoughts tonight.
Hey, the young girls voted for Mamdani because he's got sex appeal. As the girl on social media said, it's also a vote against their parents. Mommy and Daddy MAGA, she's so happy that Mommy and Daddy are upset this week. It reminds me of the 60s where parents had to hire deprogrammers to get their children back from brainwashing. This is all about, it's a shame. Womanhood has gone backwards. We fought so hard to be, get equal pay and everything in the 70s, and the girls have gone backwards. They are now thinking like, oh, I'll pick that car because it's good looking. And you heard the enthusiasm. It's all about sex appeal and fighting against their parents. And a lot of them are spoiled brats. They've never seen a war. They've never lived through having to be drafted. They are spoiled. And this is the latest fad. Let's go for the handsome, charismatic, flashy candidate.
Yeah, great point. You know what's interesting? I did pick up, too, where it's like a protest vote, you're right, against their parents. That was one, knowing that it's not the right thing to do. And for them to think that he's sexy, Democratic Socialists, I don't see anything sexy about their platform, that's for sure.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.